something weird has been happening to me this week, and um, it just happened to me again as I was in backstage getting ready to come up here. And I hope that the same thing that has happening to me all week, you're able to experience it by the end of this sermon. This week, I got to spend some time with my niece Camila and two of her close friends, and we took them to SeaWorld, and we were having fun at SeaWorld. We had a great day, and I love thrill parks, theme parks, and specifically I love roller coasters. But I'm really careful every time I get to a roller coaster because I'm 35 years old and I have lost a couple things in roller coasters. Let's just say that. So every time I get in a roller coaster, I'm very careful that I don't have anything in my pockets, that nothing can fly out, my glasses, my hat. I was wearing Crocs. Wait, my Crocs. Let's leave them here. Extremely careful. But as we were running around the park, we had already run a bunch of roller coasters. We were excited. Some of the rides had no wait time, which was weird because I don't know if SeaWorld does this on purpose, but outside it said that every ride had like a 20-minute wait time, but then we would walk in and there was absolutely no one in. So it was exciting, and the girls were excited, and they were running around and dragging us, like, let's hurry up, let's hurry up. And in one of those times, we are running through the line to get in a roller coaster called Mako. And we're running through to get into the roller coaster, and I didn't even think about it because I had already emptied my pockets before for the roller coaster before, and I didn't even think of checking my pockets, jumped in the roller coaster, and I am living my best life. I have my hands to the air because that's the best way to ride a roller coaster. Like if you're holding on to the roller coaster, you're not fully experiencing it. So I was here like enjoying it, and out of nowhere, I hear the voice of my wife say, "Look, a cell phone." It was in the highest part of the Mako ride, and we were about to come down. And when she says, "Look, a cell phone," I look over, and I'm like, "Oh, I recognize the case. It's my phone." So we both look at each other, and we're like, and we try to reach for it. But as we're trying to reach for it, the roller coaster starts going down, and the phone is still up there, like slowly, like it was like slow motion. It was like the weirdest thing because we both experienced that in slow motion. We were like, we get out of the roller coaster, and it was still early in the day. I didn't want to ruin the rest of the day for the girls or for my wife, and I tried to, just like, oh, don't worry about it. It's fine. It's just a cell phone. Inside of me, I was like, I just bought this phone. It's a lease. I'm making payments on it. It's an iPhone 16 Pro, and I'm paying $40 a month for this phone that now I don't have anymore. I went and talked to the SeaWorld employees. I'm like, hey, I lost my phone in the ride. And they're like, oh, we have a recovery process where you can get your phone back. And I'm like, awesome. They're like, do you have an idea where it fell? And I was like, yes, because I saw it happen in slow motion. As a matter of fact, I even looked back, and I saw the phone like dropping and exactly where it dropped, so I can pinpoint it. They're like, cool, where it happened? I was like, in the lake. I saw the splash, like, phew. And the guy kind of had the same reaction that you guys had. He was like, yeah, we can't recover that. I'm like, oh, man. The whole day, we continue, like, trying to have a good time. And the whole day, the only thing I could think of was, man, this is bad news, man. Like, I just got this phone. I'm making payments on it. Like, now I'm going to have to get another phone and make payments on that other phone, which means that now I'm going to be paying $80 a month instead of $40 a month. And this is bad news. Like, we're not in a super, like, well financial spot to be spending money like this. And, like, I'm like, this is terrible news. And that's all I could think about until the next day. I come to the office with no phone, and everybody's like, hey, we texted you, all the staff. Like, hey, we've been texting you. I'm like, yeah, I don't have a phone. What happened? And I tell them the story, and we all kind of have a laugh about it. And I go into my office. As usual, I put my background music, and I start preparing my office. And as I sit there, I'm like, you know what? iPhones have iCloud. Let me try to at least recuperate some of my pictures and some of my stuff. And I go in, and I get this message that said, your iCloud is full. And the last time it updated was back in November, which means that all the pictures, baby pictures, from November till now are gone. And suddenly it wasn't about the money anymore. I could care less about the $40 a month. Suddenly it was about memories, about experiences that they were so important for me that I wanted to keep them forever. And that's why I took those pictures. That's why I took those videos, because there was things in there of Levi being 4 months old, 5 months old, milestones that he went over. And for me, those pictures were more than just pictures. They were experiences. And now they're gone. So I started crying in my office. I did my devotional, and I was like, God, I'm a little sad, but you know all things, and I'm fine. And I started preparing the stuff for middle school Sabbath schools, and I started working on some stuff. And like every 10, 15 minutes, I would be reminded of something that I have to do, or someone that I have to text, or someone that I have to call, and I would go like, oh, I don't have a phone. Every 10, 15 minutes, I would be like, let me, I saw something, I saved it on Facebook, I saved it on Instagram, I don't have a phone. And it started to just like weigh on me even more. For you, it might not be a big deal losing your iPhone. For me, it was a huge deal, especially when I realized that it wasn't about the iPhone. It was about the experiences that were saved on the iPhone. That day, my office was quiet. I couldn't receive text messages. I couldn't receive voice calls. It was more quiet than usual. And something happened. I heard God's voice in my office, in the quietness, in the stillness. And this is what he said. You don't need a miracle today. You need a whisper. You see, I was praying throughout the day that somehow SeaWorld was able to magically find my phone, and that they would call my wife or do something for me to recuperate that phone. I kept praying throughout the day that somehow my phone was able to sink into the cloud, even though it was under the lake, and I could at least retrieve my pictures and my videos. I kept praying to God that somehow someone would walk into the office that morning and would be like, hey, Pastor Alex, we were praying for you, we were thinking of you, and we bought you a new iPhone. None of that happened. I kept praying for a miracle. And God clearly talked to me and said, you don't need a miracle today. You need a whisper. Well, a couple weeks back, 3 weeks ago, I was teaching Sabbath school to our middle schoolers, and the Sabbath school was about a specific story in the Bible that I did not remember. Most of you might not remember it either. And it really spoke to me to the point where I had already put it down in the calendar that my next sermon at Warehouse is going to be about this story in specific, because I really love that story. I was like, man, it spoke to me. So I wrote it down. I even sent it to Pastor Justin, to Pastor Juan, and I was like, hey, guys, I know it's a little bit in advance, but here's my sermon notes. And they were like, oh, wow, okay, cool. Thank you for sending it so in advance. Like, that helps us with preparing for the songs. And I'm like, cool. I had everything ready. And the sermon for today was called The Whisper. And here's the thing. I believe that God chooses to allow certain things in our life to happen so that you can experience the quiet, the stillness, the silence, and so that you can experience his whisper. This week, when I lost my phone, that's exactly what happened. And there's a story in the Bible that I was teaching our middle schoolers a couple of weeks ago. It's Elijah, and we know tons of stories about Elijah, and he has just experienced his highest peak in his story. He just went to a mount, and he prayed for fire to fall down, and fire fell down. He experienced the biggest high of his life. He faced off against 450 prophets of Baal, and they couldn't stand a chance against one guy, a prophet of God. He's coming off a high, and everybody knows that he is the prophet of God. He's coming off a high where he prayed for rain after the biggest drought in the land, and God listened to him and allowed rain to come. So he's experienced the highest of highs. But right after all of this, King Jezebel, decides this guy is defying us. We need to kill him. And Elijah hears this, and this is what the Bible says in 1 King chapter 19, and we're going to read verse 3 and on. It says, Elijah, the prophet of God that did all these miracles just a chapter before, Elijah was afraid. And not only he was afraid, but he ran for his life. When he came to Beersheba in Judah, he left his servant there, while he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness. He came to a broom bush, sat down under it, and prayed. What was his prayer? I pray that I may die. I have had enough. Lord, take my life. Then he lay down under the bush and fell asleep. He's coming out of the highest experience, spiritual experience that anyone could experience. He's coming out of actually hearing God's voice, because he was the prophet of God, telling him the steps that he needed to take. So he's seen it all. He's heard it all. But when he hears that they're coming to hunt him and kill him, his reaction is, I can't anymore. Lord, take my life. Kill me right now. He ran for his life. He was afraid, and he hid in Mount Horeb. He went to Mount Horeb, and there, the prophet of God feels and hears the voice of God telling him, you got to go up Mount Horeb, and I will talk to you there. So he follows, and he goes, okay, I'll go up there. And now in this mountain, the same mountain where God has spoken to many other prophets in the past, this same mountain where God has made the ground be holy ground, this same mountain where fire has come down from heaven, this same mountain where fire has been in a burning bush that doesn't burn, in this same mountain, now Elijah is waiting and waiting for God to appear. And this is when heaven gets quiet. The Bible says, 1 King 19, verse 11 and 12, it says, then a great and powerful wind tore through the mountains. And I imagine Elijah, I'm going to take a pause here. I imagine Elijah saying, I've seen this before. The great and powerful and mighty wind of God. This is his presence. I've seen it before. I've felt it before. I've heard it before. And that mighty rushing wind that we talk about and we sing about in songs, he's hearing it. He's seeing it. He says, this is where God is going to talk to me. And he's waiting for God to talk to him. But the Bible says, but the Lord was not in the wind. And heaven was quiet. So here he waits a little bit longer. He's like, well, God said he was going to talk to me, so I'll keep waiting. And the Bible says that after the wind, there was a big earthquake. The ground began to shake. And he's like, that's my Lord. That's my God. He said he would talk to me, and here's the earthquake. That is God talking to me. But yet again, the Lord was not in the earthquake. So after the earthquake came fire from heaven. He's like, whoo, here we go. This is just like it happened in the chapter before. I prayed to God to present himself to all the false prophets, and he came as a fire from heaven, and I'm ready for this. But the Lord was not in the fire. God is giving him a little bit, a taste of all the miracles that he has already experienced, of all the things that he already knows that God moves through, of all the miracles that he's been praying for. God is allowing him to experience a little bit of it, just a little bit of it, but not talking. And not only not talking, it says that God was not there. So I imagine Elijah getting desperate. But here's what happened next. After the fire, there was stillness. There was quiet. And in the quiet, Elijah heard a whisper. Not a shout, not a scream, not a fire, not a wind, not an earthquake, not a lightning, not a thunder, but a whisper. Family, we wait for the spectacular, and God is waiting for us to be still, to be quiet. You are praying to God constantly for miracles in your life. Lord, please allow this to happen in my life. Lord, please send me a signal. Send me a miracle. Send me an iPhone. Let me tell you, God is waiting for you to experience stillness, quietness, so that you can hear his whisper. For you to hear a whisper, number one, that means that that person has to be extremely close to you. And you guys can't hear anything I'm saying because you're not close enough to me. Because I'm whispering. God is constantly choosing to whisper. But we live addicted to the noise. We live addicted to the loudness. Whenever there is a quiet moment in our lives, we feel uncomfortable. And actually, we feel like quietness equals loneliness. Whenever we don't have our phones with us, you feel desperate because you feel separated from your friends, from your family, from your Instagram, from your TikTok, from your Facebook, from your Amazon account and that you're addicted to. So we equal quietness to loneliness. But that's not what the Bible teaches us. God is closer than ever whenever we are experiencing the quiet moments. Because that is when he knows he can get close and whisper. But we have filled our lives with earthquake, fires, constant noise, constant cloud, hoping that those things will fill our lives. When the only thing that those things are doing are separating more and more and more and creating such a big chasm between us and God that little by little you're no longer able to recognize God's voice. And even if you experience a moment of calmness, of stillness, of silence in your life, you're no longer able to hear the whisper of God because you have already been separated too far. So in His mercy, God will allow certain things to happen in your life so that we can stop, be quiet, be still, and hear His whisper. Something unexpected, something uncomfortable, losing your phone, getting sick, losing power in your house, losing your job, losing a friend. And God will allow those things to create a moment of silence so that you can hear His whisper saying, I'm right here. And that's exactly what He told Elijah. He was like, I am with you. I'm here. Have never left you, will never leave you. I am here. You just couldn't hear me through all the noise. Often, silence is not God's absence, but is His invitation to get closer. It is His invitation to get closer. But how do we hear God's whisper when we live in such a noise, in such a chaos? When we do not even know how to stop, when we feel uncomfortable in the quietness, how can we hear God's whisper? Well, I want to tell you another story from the Bible. So we're going to jump all the way to the New Testament. And Jesus just performed the biggest miracle He ever performed in His ministry, apart from dying and resurrecting for us. His biggest miracle in all of His ministry here on earth was resurrecting His friend Lazarus. And He's coming out of that high. He just resurrected Lazarus. Nobody has seen this. Nobody knows this is even possible. But He woke up a person that was dead for 4 days. And He said, Lazarus, wake up. And the person woke up and started walking around. And everybody's amazed. And out of this high, out of this experience of earthquakes and rushing wind and fire, in this experience, people decide to throw Him a party. Their reaction is, let's celebrate for Lazarus is alive and let's celebrate that Jesus resurrected him. They throw Him a party. Everybody is in the noise of preparing for this party, the food, the guests. Everybody's talking about what happened. Did you see what happened? He was dead. You were there? Oh, I saw it. He was stinky. The noise is loud. But there's one person in that room, Mary. There's one person in that room, Mary, that she says, I'm not here for the loudness. I'm not here for all the noise. I'm not here for this party. I'm not here for anything, because I just realized who this person in the room is. I just realized that this is the Lord and King of the whole universe. And I don't even deserve to be in His presence. So what He does next is beautiful. He grabs everything she owns. And the Bible says that she spent a year's wages. She was working for an entire year, working and saving money. And she grabbed all her savings of an entire year. And she spent it on a perfume, on an oil perfume. And she buys this perfume, and the Bible says, you know the story, that she went to Jesus while everybody's partying, while everybody's celebrating, while everybody's being noisy. She goes into Jesus, like straight to Jesus, and she goes to his feet. And she breaks the perfume at his feet and starts to wash his feet with this perfume. And that was her sign, that was her signal to Jesus of, I don't care about what's happening around me. I don't care about like anything apart from being silent, quiet at your feet, being in your presence, enjoying your presence. The room was loud, but Mary was fighting for a quiet moment. So what do you do in the middle of the loudness, the distractions, the things that are keeping you from God? What do you do in the middle of those things to be able to have a quiet moment with Jesus? What do you do? Well, I'll tell you right now. You got to stop waiting for fire from heaven and start fighting for an intimate moment. This week, like I said, when I came here to the office after losing my phone, I heard a whisper. And throughout the whole week, I wouldn't even be able to explain it to you, but throughout the whole week, God has been whispering. And the whisper gets louder and louder. It's gotten to the point where my wife even made a comment yesterday. And she said, hey, you've been so, different this week. Things that would stress me out. Our baby got an allergic reaction. Was it yesterday? Or the day before, he got an allergic reaction. And usually I freak out every time that baby Levi gets the smallest boo-boo. If he's crying, I'm stressed out. If he's crying, usually I'm crying with him. And this week he got a pretty intense allergic reaction. And my wife started freaking out. But I had just heard God's whisper. So when all of this is happening, I look at baby and I say, he's okay. I know he's okay. Let's just wait. Let's be quiet. Let's wait. Let's hold him in our arms. Everything is okay. My wife was like, who are you? But all week, little things have been happening where God allows me to hear a little whisper. And that whisper can transform your entire day. Just a single whisper. And I have good news for you today. The whisper is in the room today. And I heard it earlier through this service while they were singing worship and praise. I heard the whisper. And the whisper is here. So the question is, are you willing to fight and stop waiting for the fire and stop waiting for the miracle? And are you willing to fight for the quiet moment where you get to pour it all out, everything you have, and say, the only thing I want right now is your gentle whisper? Because just as long as you're willing to surrender in the quietness, He will whisper. You will hear His voice. And when you hear His voice, sometimes the miracle happens right after. But when you hear His voice, you're no longer after the miracle because you're in the presence of the King of the universe. And you know that everything will be all right, with miracle or without miracle. Because all things work out for good for those that love the Lord with all their heart. And if you're hearing His whisper, that means that you're running after Him. that you're coming to his feet and you're surrendering everything that you have. And in this story, she specifically used a very extremely expensive perfume called spikenard, a perfume that I have in my office. And this week, I wanted to do something special for you guys to help you experience some quietness. Disney is really good at this. I used to work at Disney ages ago, but Disney is really good at having smells through their parks, through their hotels, like in certain areas. Different rides have different smells that they have carefully curated so that every time you smell that away from Disney, your memory is triggered and you think of Disney. They are amazing at this. Hotels do it, other companies do it, because the world knows, the business world knows, that our senses are connected to our memories. So today, I want to connect your senses to a memory of quietness, stillness, and God's whisper. So all week, I spent it making these little bottles, and there's certain people in the church today that have these bottles with them. And this bottle is pure spikenard, the same oil that Mary used to surrender completely at the feet of Jesus. And I want you to be able to smell the smell of spikenard. It's a very earthy, woody, spice smell. I want you to smell this and create a memory of what it feels like to not be waiting for the fire, but be quiet and wait for the whisper. So I'm going to ask those people to spray it. Come on, guys, spray it. Let everybody smell it. Because I want you to create that memory. I want you to create that memory. And if you cannot smell it, well, I have good news for you. Can you smell that? The guys in the front, you definitely can smell it. Strong. In the back, maybe you don't smell it, but I have good news for the people in the back. Today, we're gonna worship. And as we worship, we're gonna open this area in the front for you to come running and fight to have your quiet moment. You'll be able to come here to the front and pour out your worship. You don't have to bring an expensive oil, expensive perfume, but pour out your worship, your song, your prayer. And if you want to cry, you can cry. And if you want to lift your hands, you can lift your hands. If you want to sing loud, you can sing loud. If you want to whisper, you can whisper. But today you have the opportunity to fight for your quiet moment, because the whisper is in the room, and the whisper wants to talk to you this morning. And he wants you to experience what it is to hear his voice. Maybe you have never heard his voice. Let me tell you, I have been praying all week for the people that will choose to fight for the quiet moment so that you can hear his voice this morning. So I invite you, as we sing, as we worship, fight for that moment. Come here to the front. Experience his whisper.